We actually went to the World Series whitetail hunt down in Missouri. We got talked into it with another fella. And we left there, didn't shoot nothing, left there and went to Michigan to go hunting. And so the first day out, it was snowing, and my buddy went up into the Porcupine National Forest on the shores of Lake on, not Lake, the big lake, Superior. And so I dropped my buddy off. He says, well, drop me off here, pick me up tonight. He headed out. He loves going in the snow. So I says, I've been looking on the maps and stuff, I says, this piece of state forest south about 30 miles. I says, I'd like to check it out. So I drove down there and saw a lot of deer sign, tracks and stuff. And ended up, my buddy didn't see nothing worth, hooting about that day. And so I says, geez, it's a lot of sign. I says, want to take a look at it? Yeah, all right. So we went down there the next morning and went hunting and got a hold of him on the radio about 11 o'clock, and both of us had enough of that place. So we decided, and we met up out and walking back up the road together. And let's get out of this, head back up to the Porkies. And we get back to his truck, and this note is on the truck. I think you should find another spot to hunt. Thank you. So evidently, actually both of us, while we were hunting that day, ran into a bait site. So
Oh, really?
I don't know which one see us, but so anyway, of course we left. We were on our way out of there. We go back to the Porkies and driving up through the what they call South Boundary Road, and driving up through, it's getting on close to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a big fresh track going across the road. Oh, a monster track. So my buddy took it, and I said, well, I'm going to go up the road about a quarter mile or so, which I did, maybe there, and I headed up in, and I'm going up through just as fast as I could go. But I was a little younger then. I could move. And I get up on a nice shelf up there with a little saddle going through over the top of the ridge. The ridges were higher in, nice shelf. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. I can see that buck coming right up this shelf. Well, long story short, he went up the shelf just before that and went through the gap just before where I was standing. So we finally, getting dark, we left the trail and went back. So that night, my buddy says, well, next morning, he says, I'm getting on that track again. He says, that's a big buck. So he got on the track the next morning, and I went back up the road, and I took a trail up in. And I walked back in there. I would get back in there about 2.5 miles or so, and talking to my buddy on the radio, and he's gone up over that ridge, and there's a big basin back in there, and I'm on the northeast side of that basin, and so he's telling me, he says, they've been in here. He says, tracks everywhere. And so I had gotten further past him, so I turned and headed back towards him into that basin. So long story short, he's tracking this buck all day long. I run into him about 2:30. And he's on the track. He kept taking tracks, the area they were in, bucks and does, just tracked up everywhere. He kept taking tracks out of there. He's on another set of tracks leading out of there. He says, I'm still trying to catch up to him. So I said, I'm going to go right the other way. So I started out right the other way. And it might have been a half an hour, and I hear him start shooting. And finally I get him on the radio. Talk to him. He says, well, you got a piece of him. He says, the chase is on. He says, I got blood. And so I turn around, I start hoofing. I'm right on a dead hoof. I'm going. I hear him shoot again. Long story short, he ended up shooting 13 times. And the last time he shot. He was standing on the edge of the south boundary road. The buck went down and crossed the road, and it was standing down the woods below the road, and that's where he finished him off down there. And that was this guy. This guy right here. You could see the end of the main beam on his right side is broken off.
Wow.
He had 6 points on net, typical points on this side with all the trash. And he had them repaired in, because put 6 points. He was 22 pointer, scored 180 inches.
Well, you can't skip over this one too now.
So, anyway, we go take him in the motel, and the motel owner, he's a hunter also.
Yeah.
And I got to call a friend of mine up, and his friend comes over, they got to look at that buck, And we're talking about, we got him tracking, And so those guys weren't trackers. Of course, most of the people up there in Michigan, up in the UP, are all baiters anyway. And so it was amazing, geez, you tracking, So the next day, we go in, and there was a good 6-7 inches of snow on the ground when my buddy shot his. And next day it was warming up. I said, I got to kill something today because this snow's going to be gone, because it was going into the 50s. And so the day he shot that one, going up that trail, I had pretty decent buck track going by. I figured maybe a 3.5-year-old buck, but fresh, and I didn't take it because I knew I'm heading back in where that big guy was heading. I hadn't crossed his track yet. And so anyway, the next day I'm going back up in, and right in that area where that track was leaving out, same size track come back. Probably it was the same buck, you never know, but identical size track and everything. So I picked it up and ended up shooting him. And called my buddy on the phone. Did you hear that? And yeah. And I said, well, I got an 8-pointer. So,
a beautiful 8-pointer.
He says, I'm in good country. I said, good. I said, stay hunting, because we could shoot 2 deer. If you bought what they call a trophy license, you could end up shooting 2 deer.
Yep.
So I said, stay right there. You're in a good area. I said, when you get back to the truck tonight, if I ain't out, I said, go up that trail. And so anyway, I took pictures. I got pictures of a field photo that was somewhere in there. Took pictures of him and started dragging him. And dragging him a while. And I get onto the trail. And I'm dragging him down the trail, and I come to the sign that says South Boundary Road, 2 miles. So I dragged that buck 2 miles. It looked good. He was a little guy, about 150 pounds. But I did beat my buddy back to the truck. Not by much, but I beat him back.
Wow, that is an awesome story.
But I've always
in
wished,
Michigan, huh?
Yeah, I always wished I could get a hold of this guy and say thank you to him. We were already headed out. He didn't leave the note. We had enough of that place already. But I would have loved to thank that guy and show him the picture of those 2 deer we got.
Oh, me too. That is great. Now, where's the rack of that 8-pointer?
Right here.
That's him there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Look at that. It's in the background of the story the whole time.
And I don't know, you come over here, you can see this guy here. I called him One-Eyed Jack. See that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he lost that eye in a fight. That's the way I brought him out of the woods. So
wow.
Joey over in North, I can fix that for you. I said, don't you dare.
Yeah.
That's the way he come out.
The Hunt Suburbia podcast presents the Living Legends of Deer Hunting series, a special 3-part series with deer hunting legend, Connecticut Carl, Carl LIESER. Well, that's a gorgeous deer, and let's talk. So that's bare ground, and something about
bare ground. Yeah.
Something about you is you are a great tracker.
I've shot him on bare ground, and I've shot him tracking.
But you're bare ground hunt too. You still hunt.
I've shot a lot of good deer.
You call a lot. You rattle. You utilize calling.
Yep. I'm a walker. I don't own a tree stand. I never hunted out of a tree stand. I'm a walker. So when I go in the woods hunting, I'm walking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even in none of these deer you've shot sitting down. I mean, unless you rattled someone in or something, right? No.
No.
So, what's your still hunting strategy on bare ground? Let's talk about that a little bit. What are you doing? Just going to buck territory?
Walk and look.
Yeah. Do you go high, start high, and then slowly go down mountains, or what?
Nah, whatever.
You just get out of the truck and get in the woods.
Get out of the truck and get in the woods and go.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I go when there's no snow on the ground. I'll take a new piece of woods I've never been in before. Well, today I've been looking at that piece for 4 or 5 years while I'm going there today and check it out.
Yep. Just turn it so that this is.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I get talking, but
that'll be better. Just better audio.
But I just new piece of ground and look.
And looking for.
Yeah.
Are you looking for specific things at all? And then slow down when you get there.
Just read what I'm walking, looking for sign stuff. File it.
Yeah. What if it's a loud day? If it's a crunchy leaf day, bare ground,
there's nothing you can do. Just keep walking.
Yeah. Did you shoot any on loud, crunchy, bare ground?
Yeah.
And they had to have heard you coming, right?
Oh yeah. A lot of times you just keep stomping. Well, I can't keep quiet. I mean, in hunting gear and everything, I weigh in at about 240 in a size 13 boot. It's pretty noisy.
Yeah.
So
there's no different change in your strategy on a crunchy day? Are you calling more?
No.
Are you pretending
to be
a
deer?
deer?
You ain't shooting anything.
Yeah. Spend the time in the woods.
That 8-pointer in the corner over there, my 8-foot buck. Last day of muzzleloader season.
Yeah.
3 below 0.
Yeah.
We got 6 inches of nice powder that night. We had an old snow on the ground with a crust on it.
Mm-hmm.
So there was about 6 inches of that old crust, and we got 6 inches of fresh snow on top of it. It muffled the sound a little bit, but you can still hear the crunch. How I walked up on that buck, I don't know.
Yeah.
He was the only thing I could think of. My walking was in cadence with his chewing, because he was laid there chewing his cud. He was kind of just turned a little bit, but the ear was out. He couldn't see me come in behind him, and
yeah. Why don't we? That's a really good story too. An incredible buck. Well, let's start at the beginning of that buck and where you picked up on his track.
Went out in the morning. There was a road that made a big circle. I don't know, probably 8 miles, 10 miles around that circle. I never measured it.
Yep.
But there's other little roads off of it.
Yep.
But driving that circle and come down around, and there's fresh track. I said, well, this is it. It's a good big buck track. Come across the road, come out of the center of the circle and went across.
Yeah.
And headed down through, excuse the language, but a shithole. And Gordon Merrill, my buddy's son, was with me. He had his truck. I said, I'm taking a track. So I told him, I said, go back down the road. I said, that next road going down through, and I told him about where to go. I said, find yourself a good spot where you can see pretty good now set up. I said, he's going down through here, headed, parallel on that road. I said, if I kick him out, maybe I can kick him out to you. So I started on the track, and I've been on the track an hour or so. And there was an old tote road, all grown up. There were places you can't even walk on the tote road, all grown in. And other places you can walk on a little while. I come onto a place with walk onto, and so I had radio. Gordon and I talked on the radio, and I told him, I says, I'm down in, I said, right about where you are. I says, I think you should move up the road a ways. Well, he says, I kind of like it here. And, well, that's up to you.
Yeah.
I said, if I jump him, I says, he's comes out across the road, he's going to be down below from you. And so then I told him, I said, I'm getting hot in here, because I just come on, and there's another track, either another buck come down the road, or he gone up and come back. Made a bunch of tracks in there. And so I told Gordon, I said, shutting the radio off. I says, I'm hot. I said, this is hot in here. And it was maybe 10 minutes or so later, I this track here left. I says, well, it's the same size. I don't know if it's the same buck. You know, if he intertwined with another buck or he been up and down. And it probably was him, went up and back down that road a little bit.
But it was fresher.
Yeah, probably feeding. And so I took that one track going that way in about 10 minutes. And I stepped around that spruce tree all laden with snow. And there he was laying there chewing his cud. And I just...
Did it startle you a little bit?
Instead of stepping forward, I just stepped sideways, you know. Oh, yeah. I mean...
There he is.
The horn sticking up.
Facing the other way? Was he? He was facing away from you?
he was facing out, chewing his cud. Like I said, he could have saw me with his right eye, but his ear was right there. And I just brought the gun up, and you know, everything races through your mind as you just go off. You know, all I could see was hair in the scope. I was that close. All you see was hair in the scope and pulled the trigger. He just flopped his head down. He never shook, quivered, or nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. And I immediately let out 3 or 4 war whoops. You know?
Well, that had been one of the most exciting things ever.
And I got Gordon on the radio, and I said, "You hear that?" "Yeah." "What the hell? How do you know you got it?" He said, "The smoke hadn't cleared. You were hollering." I said, "Well, he's laying right here." I said, "Get in here." I said, "I want you to be a witness." So he comes stomping in from the road. You had to go down across the little brook, and everything was laden with snow. He was the abominable snowman when he got to me. He said, you know, it took him about 15 minutes to get in there.
He was covering ground, wasn't he?
And I didn't go near the deer and make any more tracks. You know, I want witness.
You wanted him to see how close he was.
How far I actually shot that buck.
So you were actually closer to him then than you are now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know. I took
there.
one more step and kicked him in the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. I said 8 feet, but probably his head was 8 feet away. I mean, his ass was probably 5.
Yeah.
You know?
That's crazy. Huh. And it was a little bit of a crunch, but muffled snow on top,
Yeah,
you said?
Yeah. I mean, you had to step on that old crust, and when you put your weight on, then you would break through. So, I mean, there was definitely a crunching sound.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't loud, but it was definitely a noise. So I say to this day, I don't know how I walked up there on him, but it did. You get lucky.
Now, how much did that buck weigh?
170 pounds. Last day of muzzleload.
Wow, he's every bit as
it
big.
Was three below, yeah.
Face
probably
wise,
a 200-pounder. You shoot him opening day.
Yeah. And he scores probably like 140 something.
156.
156.
Yeah.
Wow.
On an 8-pointer.
Yeah. Wow, that's a beautiful 8-pointer.
Yeah.
I know somebody that you know who says you're his mentor who shot a 150 something 8-pointer last year, Jim LIESER.
Yeah.
That's
dandy.
That's quite a feat for an 8-pointer.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's a beautiful buck there.
I just scored a 9 the other day from Connecticut, 157.
157 9? Yep. Well, gorgeous buck. Now, you've shot a few in their beds, you've said, right? That was one in his bed.
Yeah.
Were all of them...
That guy behind you.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over in New Brunswick.
The crazy rack. What do you call him again? What's his name?
Boy. The heck did I call him?
Weirdo?
No.
Tall rack? Is it written on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all I'm forgetting names now.
Now are all the bucks that you've shot in their beds, were they in the snow?
Yeah.
Mactaquac?
Yeah, Mactaquac. Yeah.
Well, that's why you forgot.
We went over. I got to get it with an outfitter.
Yeah.
Well, we had an outfitter that would let us jump in our truck and go hunting.
Yeah.
You know,
he wasn't putting you places.
Otherwise, it wasn't going.
Yeah.
So anyway, we had some fresh snow that morning, and going up a road, and there was a road that went off to the right, went up in there, way and dead ended. I wanted to go up there. I said, well, I'm going to go up this other road a ways, just, check for tracks before I go up that one. And, I ended up going up and got into, there was a beaver work in Christ. I drove through water I thought was going to come into truck, and it kind of going down in there was like a little quick, bad S-turn. There was a ditch over here. And once I started up through there, I said, I think I can drive through, get up through here because I can't back up.
Yeah.
Maneuver that. I said, I'd be down that stupid ditch. Well, I ended up going up through and drove the road through and come out on a blacktop. Drove all the way around the blacktop and back down towards the outfitters and back in that original road. I headed up in, and then this time I took that road to the right and going up in there. And there's the big track. And I bailed out. And over the years, I got a little smarter. He went across the Macnaquack River, which is basically a big brook.
Yeah.
With no raging river or anything. And so probably I had to walk through about 18 inches of water. Well, I picked up a system to carry a couple of 30-gallon garbage bags with me, with a couple of big elastic bands, and put your foot in a garbage bag and put an elastic band, and now you got a pair of waders.
Yeah.
So
and you didn't have to wear them all day.
Yeah, and get on the other side and take them off and put them back in your pack. And so that's what I did, and didn't get wet. Got across. All right, going up through the other side, I'm on the track, and probably gone on it a half an hour or so. And come in, they'd done some select logging up in that area, and pretty soon there goes a rack buck. I see him, but was no time for a shot. So I started running towards the way he went. Maybe I can get another glimpse at him, right?
Yeah.
And as I'm running, boy, this buck must hit me right in the face. And that's the strongest I ever smelt a buck before, because he just made a scrape and urinated, and I got the full force. Whoa! So anyway, I go back, pick up the track. I was following. I says, and sure enough, he goes up, and he went to the right. That was another buck, and so I follow him a little ways. Now he picks up doe and a couple fawns, or 2 does, a fawn, or whatever. There was a small track in there, and so I'm following him along. Now he goes back down in off the hardwood ridge, get down in the green growth. He's going back towards the river. And all of a sudden, I look through a hole. I can see the back of that rack sticking up.
Like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, that's different. And anyway, I don't know what I hit to this day, but I must cut some wood or something. He's probably 35 yards. I pull up and shoot. He'd bet it right there. Bang! He never moved. I said, what the hell did I hit?
He didn't move as in he didn't die.
No, I pulled up again. I said, well, I ain't shooting that spot again. I moved over just a little bit, took a little bang. He never get up.
Wow, wonder why he didn't move after the first time. He had to have heard it.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he's just deaf, dumb.
I've shot a lot of deer and they don't move.
Maybe he's deaf, dumb, and weird, huh?
I can tell you a lot of stories I shot and missed first time.
How do you even score that one? Did you end up scoring him? How do you score that thing?
But he scored, I think it was 118 and change.
Yeah, that's a crazy deer to score. But
he's a 10-pointer. They call him over in New Brunswick at 12.
And he's got a drop tine, technically, I would say. It's his main beam is a drop.
Cane. His main beam just curls down.
Yeah. That's what you call him? The main beam curls down a candy cane?
Yeah.
Well, a couple of things.
So anyway, of course, I gutted him off. Then I went back. I said, I'm going down to the outfitters. They can help drag this guy out, because I got to take him back down across the river. Well, anyway, I didn't put the bags on this time. Hell would I? I walked across the river. And so get down to camp. My buddy Gary and Gary Merrill and Gary Clarkey, they're back. And Gary shot a deer that morning. It was a hot morning. And the outfitter shot a deer that morning.
Yeah.
Both 8-pointers, good bucks. So they all come out, the outfitter and his son and everything. His son and I, we crossed it, told them guys to wait there. We crossed the river again and went back up and dragged them down. Got it on video, us dragging them across the river and stuff and dragging them up out of the woods.
Where's those videos at?
On 8-track.
Oh, I bet you there's some classic stuff in there. Looking at about 40 or 50 8-track tapes in there. That'd be cool to go through at some point. Now, a couple things.
I haven't looked at them in years.
You even still got an 8-track player, I'm sure.
I don't know if I do or not. I don't know what's over there.
Oh man,
everything changes much. I ain't looked at one of those in years.
But I think it's important from that story. There's a few things that people can take away. Is first of all the trash bag trick. Bring some bags with you, and if you come across a river that's crossable, just put them up like that. Yeah, that's a great little tip.
The only thing is you got to be careful because they are kind of slippery.
Yeah. But it's a big thing is just getting access into places that, and it's even just a river or a stream that only comes knee high will stop most hunters, probably 80-90% of the hunters. So if you can just cross over things like that, you're going to get access to better territory, you know?
I didn't use yes, I did use the bags, but I almost went on my ass crossing that Machias River again.
That dang
river. I caught a big track and took it, and we went down and coming in a clear cut. And he turned, he started walking down a skidder trail. Walked down that skidder trail about 100 yards, and he turned around and he walked back, but on a little V. So I didn't see his track going back till I'm way down the corner. Walked back on a little V. He was probably 30 yards from me. I walked by him, bedded down right there. You know. Then he gets up and goes out behind me. You know. They'll teach you a lot of things. Them deer will. About the time you think you know everything, they'll teach you something new. And so, anyway, of course, big track, one of them big old Maine bruises. I took off. And he went down below and he bedded down. I jumped him out of that bed and took off again. And I'm going. And he goes across the Machias River. Well, I put the bags on, and I'll tell you, I was close to the top of the bags going across that river. One time I almost went on my keister. You know, that would have been well. I got out the other side. Now he headed down. He's halfway up the ridge, and he's parallel in the river going down. Of course, he's going downwind. I jumped him up again, and up over the hill he went. Away we went. I'm on this track. It's getting late in the afternoon now. He runs right into another buck and a doe that been in there, walking all over the damn place.
Yep.
And I lost his track. You know, I couldn't tell what was his and what was that other buck's, you know. And I circled the whole thing and never found his track going out of there. Where that it was a mystery.
He's up in the tree.
You fly out of here. You know? I see where the other buck and doe had left that area and gone, but never saw his.
Well, did he have a distinct track, or?
Oh, it was a big track.
Yeah.
He was definitely the bigger buck of the two.
Yeah.
And so now, you know, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's starting to get dark. It's dark in Maine early. I'm about a half mile up to the reality road, so I walk up to the reality road and hitchhike a ride back. And to drive back around the road is 14 miles to where my truck was, even though I was probably about 4 miles from it. But I wasn't going back across that river in the dark. Especially when I almost went on my keys the first time.
Well, what after all these years of hunting, what is something you've learned about deer behavior that surprises you? A buck's behavior or deer behavior in general?
Nothing. Nothing surprises me.
Because they do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said before, about time you got one figured out, are you going to show you something new? It's just, there's no real pattern to what they do. They just.
Does anything come
By
to
the time
mind?
you think they're going to do something, they're going to do the opposite.
Does anything come to mind that was particularly odd or crazy that you saw happen, that a deer did that was just like, wow, that's...
No, I've seen them from a stand and jump 30 feet. You walk up and all the track is gone.
From just standing still.
From a standstill, yeah. I mean, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
they can jump far.
Wonder sometimes they do that, don't they? I've heard to try to throw you off their track. Actually, they're actually thinking about it and going.
Yeah. I believe they are.
Yeah.
One thing I saw, I was out in Minnesota. I'm driving back to the motel where I was staying, and it was a pretty good sized stream there. I don't know if it was a river or what, but small river, great big brook. And as I went over the bridge, something caught my eye, and I looked. Gee, I said, that was a deer down there in the water. So I backed up, and I look, and this doe, she's swimming. It was slow water deep, and she's swimming all the way down that river. And I watched her until she was well over 100 yards away from the truck. Now it started getting too dark where I couldn't see her anymore because it was getting pretty dark.
Yep.
We're still in that river swimming.
Huh.
The only thing I can figure out, because of the wolf population, she gets away from wolves that way or something.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And leaves the scent. She's not leaving scent.
Right.
Yeah.
Something they developed. And that's another thing. I know the Benoits have had trouble, good luck tracking out in Ontario, but I found it's a tough place to track, Ontario and Minnesota.
Because of the wolves?
Because of the wolves. These deer are wary.
Yep.
Yes, they,
Just they act different.
Yeah, I've tracked some down out there.
Are any of these Ontario bucks? Are any bucks up here in Ontario?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one right there.
This one here.
That one there.
Yeah.
The next one in line over there.
Yeah.
The 13-pointer over the TV is Ontario. The first 10-pointer in line there, that's Ontario.
Yeah. Yeah, for those...
the little tiny 10, which was my 10th 10-pointer, that was Ontario.
For those watching, I'll also pan in. There's a 10-pointer alley. Starts right here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Those 10, yeah.
10 pointers, and then the little 10 over there. Yeah.
And that 13 is basically a 10-point frame. It just got 3 beauty points off the main thing.
What's the story of that 13-pointer there? I mean, he's how much did he weigh? He looks like a brute.
250.
250.
250.
Yeah, you can tell by his neck and shoulders there.
And most of these weights, I wasn't reading the scale, so somebody else read this.
Now he looks like he'd be a short, stocky deer, but
I call him no grunt.
No grunt.
No grunt. In that area, I walked. There was an old wood road back then. Four-wheelers been using it. And I walked back in there about 2 miles and headed in. Ontario is great for these beaver meadows, open swale grass.
Yep.
And there was a big one there. And I walked out and I'm right in the wide open. And I'm looking around. And the way it bent, it come over in here and it kind of bent, so there was a corner that stuck out. And the doe come running up there. So I said, well, I'll get my grunt out and grunt a couple times. Maybe there's a buck around. So I pull the grunt around and I blow on it, nothing. nothing. There's something stuck in the reed, and I tried shaking and banging it, and it wasn't having it. So I said, well, I'll pull the old doe call out, right? The estrus doe, and I give a couple of toots on that, and he come busting out of the woods.
Right into that
made
swale
a good
bog
shot.
there?
It was probably, I estimated it 140 yards offhand. I went right for his shoulder, right to the fattest spot. Touched off and folded him right there. He went right straight down.
In the swale bog? Is
Huh?
it right in that
No,
open?
he was over in the edge of the woods.
Oh, edge of the woods.
Yeah,
Yep.
across that bog. I was shooting across that bog.
Boy.
I went over and got him dressed off, took some pictures.
Big, majestic buck.
And dragging him across. Well, going over there was some little stream flowed down, and there was some dead water.
Yep.
Well, it was cold that morning. It was down to single numbers, but it hadn't been cold. This is the first real cold.
Cold snap.
Yeah. And so anyway,
you
there's ice. I said, well, I know I'm breaking through this ice, so I start walking across there. I said, I just hope it ain't too deep when I go through, you know. It might be a couple feet deep in there. And as I'm stepping, crack, 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 the ice is going out. I got across, and then I dressed the deer off, and I'm dragging him back across there. Now I got to drag him back. I says, I know. I says, between his weight, he weighs as much as I do. We're doubling the weight here. I said, we're going down. And I dragged him across, never even a crack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Maybe he hit the weight behind, evened you out or something.
Got him across in the other side. I probably dragged him a couple 100 yards. He was tough dragging. And I brushed him in, walked back out to where my truck was parked, and I was going to head into town. I knew a fella got a quad, and I could go out. And as I pull out, there goes a couple of young fellas by with a quad, so I flagged them down. I says, you guys go and get a deer for me. I says, worth $100. And they turned out to be a couple of local hockey players.
Oh, yeah?
In the local hockey league. And sure, they went back. We ended up getting stuck. They had to cross down through a little low spot there and get into the water, and we ended up getting half wet. Finally, we get in there, and behind lifting on the quad, we finally got out of there. They got it out for me.
What year was that one?
Oh, 2000 something. I'd have to look. I can't remember. Maybe 4 or 5.
After your first big one there, that 160. What was your second one after that?
That one right in the middle.
This one here?
10, yeah. It's a basic 9, but he got a split brow tine, makes him a 10.
Yep. And was he Maine?
Yeah, that's Maine.
Yep.
Yeah, I named him Boots. The story behind that. Year before, after I got that one, I was out doing some scouting in an area, and there's a big buck, and there was one piece of woods. It was a little hardwood ridge. They pretty much cut everything around, and I said, one of these days, I'd like to walk that. Looks good. So anyway, we had a little snow squall, is what it was. My buddy went south, and he's probably 20 miles away from him. They had like a 1/4 inch of snow. Over where I was, we got 1.5 inches, 2 inches. So anyway, it's snowing. So there's a loop road that goes all the way around this piece, and there's a couple of spur roads going off it. Well, I took this one that goes up in there and dead end. I says, well, snow's making pretty good. We got about 1 inch of snow on the ground now. I said, I'm going to go in here. I said, I always wanted to check that piece of woods out. I said, I'll spend a couple hours, give the deer a chance to make some tracks, and then I go look for a track.
Yep.
Well, Christ, I hadn't gone down through there too far, and I come right on a smoking track. I took the track. I didn't follow it 100 yards, and it's his bed and the way he went. So, something I do regularly, jump a deer like that. I went and sat in his bed for half an hour.
Yeah.
Give him a half an hour.
Right in his bed?
Yeah. Let him go and calm down.
Yeah.
You know? So I picked the track up, and he went out of there, and finally he started walking again. And following down off that ridge up on another one. I'm going up over, getting close to the top of that ridge. And pretty soon, right straight ahead on his track, I see a horn come out from around a spruce tree.
Mm-hmm.
And so I come right up with the gun. When I get the scope, now I see the whole head, and he's stretching, looking at me. I put it right on his throat patch and dumped him right there. He had bedded right there, and I laid him right back down in the bed. And but how we come up with boots, I usually, pick a name relative to the hunting. Going to Maine that year, for some reason or other, I said, oh, Jesus, I only got one pair of boots, and, they're about half worn out. So I ain't got time to order, so I ordered boots and had them sent to Ashland Motel. Well, we'd been hunting for a while, and the boots had come, and there was a new waitress in there, and she didn't know who I was. And finally, another waitress that knew me come in, and she said something about this package came from them. Well, oh, that's Carl. And so anyway, I got the new boots, and all the guys, couple guys we were hunting with and staying in the motel and everything, they were all talking. I said, well, I wear these new boots tomorrow. And I said, oh, you ain't going to get close to the deer. Them things stink to high heaven, brand new boots, So I put the new boots on, went hunting, and got that buck.
Look at that.
Boots.
Yeah.
But took the pool. I should have won the pool with that one. But
yeah.
I didn't get a chance to get up at Dean's at Portage Lake. I hadn't got up there. I shot the deer before I had a chance.
I was going to say, how'd you not win with that one? That was a giant.
And this one dressed 239, ended up 251. They allowed the heart and liver with it. So
oh, really?
I won the pool with that one.
Yeah. That's another
I've won the
beast
pool
buck.
at Dean's 3 different times. I should have won it 4.
Yeah. What are you shooting for a gun anyway?
Oh, for years I hunted with a 300 Savage lever action.
Yep.
And then when was it, 2000? I bought a Remington Model 7 in 260. Little short light gun, easy to carry around the woods.
Lever as well?
I get the lighter I want.
Yeah. Was it a lever as well?
No, bolt
No?
action.
Bolt.
Bolt action, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a shooter. It's a good shooter. I can shoot it good, too. I handle it good. Well, I shot that big one with it.
Yep.
Yeah, about 140 yards offhand. That's good poke.
That is good.
That wide one there, the second one in,
Yeah.
372 yards. I popped him.
No way. What's the story on that one?
Well,
Let's turn that one.
running the roads looking for a track.
That might be one of my favorite bucks you got here.
I go up, I call it, after I shot that raspberry buck on that road, and I called it Raspberry Hill. Up over Raspberry Hill and around through, and come out to another road which takes you back to the main road. And I went down, and I get down there. Well, should I continue there? I'd never seen nothing down the lower end of that road. But I said, the heck with it. I go out to the main road and go back. And I'll go back up over Raspberry Hill again. Maybe something crossed behind me.
Yeah.
And come to the top of the hill, just started down over, and I look way up. I said, naked eye, I said, there's something there. So I stopped and got the binoculars out, put the binoculars up. Whoo, I dropped them quick. Shut the truck off, opened the door, got out, rested on top of the door, and I said, about that far over his back should be about good.
Yeah, you raised it up a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I touched off. First deer I ever shot in my life. Bang, recoil stopped, then I see him haunch.
Hey, and then what happened?
So I was I said after I shot him, I said, it was a good 350 yards. I said, possibly even 400. And so nobody said nothing. So next spring, going up moose shed hunting, another fellow was coming up. I said, you got a rangefinder. Bring your rangefinder. Can I borrow it? And he said, yeah. So another fellow was with me. So I know right exactly where I stopped because there was a tree there, and just as I broke that tree,
Yeah.
I could see. And anyway, I let the guy out with the rangefinder. You stand right here. I said, and I knew exactly where the deer was standing because I've chased deer that come up out of that skidder trail before, where he's just crossing on where a skidder trail comes out there.
Was it on a high point? You know how they roll? Was it on kind of a...
because I was on a hill and I went down through and up over the hill on there. Not a big hill, but back up to the same level. Then it went down over the other side.
Seems like that's where they like to cross on those.
Yeah. And no, I put a good shot on it. The one back there, the rangefinder, 372 yards.
Yeah, that is quite a poke and a beautiful deer. What did he weigh? Do you know? You remember?
220.
Yep.
220.
220. Yeah, just some gorgeous bucks up there, man.
Yeah. And this one, that 10-pointer there.
Yep.
Is 99. From years ago, I was a Fran Tarkenton fan when he played for the Giants. Then they traded him back to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And he had some good years in Minnesota. They were going to the Super Bowl and stuff. Oh, Christ, man names. I can't bring them up. Anyway, their coach, well-known coach, too. And he was a hunter in Minnesota. For some reason, I was wanting Minnesota, to hunt Minnesota. So I drove out in the spring.
That was your first Minnesota hunt?
Yeah. I drove out in the spring. Spent 3 days looking around, the spot where I'd go hunting and find, I found a place and talked to a few people and ended up making a couple friends. And so visit the local taxidermist up in Ely. And so I talking to them. I says, let's see, in the shop, what they were shooting for bucks in the area and stuff, and talking to them. So telling them, I said, well, back east, I says, one of the tape measures that is shooting 200-pound bucks, And so anyway, ended up the restaurant I was going in the morning for breakfast, this taxidermist was going to. So I've been hunting over a week. The weather was terrible. We had 2 days, it was in the 80s.
Oh, geez.
And they normally have, snow on the ground, 50-50.
This is November?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In northern Minnesota. And so, long story short, one morning, maybe the 8th day into the hunt, 9th day, run into, I don't know, get talking, small talk in there, and I don't know, somebody said something about seeing a deer, well, yeah, shoot one, you got to see one, But he made a wisecrack against me, this asshole from Connecticut, he's lucky if he sees a deer,
Yeah.
And so anyway, it was the 11th day into the hunt. I rattled him up. Finally got some cool weather, and I rattled him up. So he was also a checking station, even though everybody took the deer to the garage there in town and checked them in.
Yeah.
I says, I know where I'm checking this one in. And I said, that little wisecrack he made the other morning. So I'm going right down there. So I get down there and check them in. So I asked him, I said, geez, you wouldn't have a scale, would you? And he says, yeah. He says, that's no 200-pounder, maybe 180. I said, yeah. I says, I judged him at 185. I said, I know he's not a 200-pounder. I just, like to know what they weigh because somebody's going to ask.
Yeah.
And so he weighed it up, 185 right on the nose. I'm standing there, wanting to say, yeah, take that, got you again. but I didn't. But inside I was saying, take that.